I have a weird obsession with Celestion Vintage 30s, as you may know if you're familiar with me or my channel. I've done numerous test videos at this point, and there's really just one more test left for me to do, the break-in test, until I've completed my Vintage 30 quest. Or so I thought, at least. Now, I've gone on record saying that I'm done buying Vintage 30s, unless it's an early 90s 16-ohm black frame V30. Yeah, I'm completely full of shit. Just 3 days after making that bold statement, I placed the winning bid on these. So, as a result, I thought I was done investigating the new Vintage 30s. But then something happened that I didn't see coming. The other week, a very cool viewer of mine named Zoltan reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in trying out his early 2021 Vintage 30s that have Y as batch designation on the code. This absolute legend of a dude even offered to send the speakers to me on his own dime. So I said, dude, sweet, send them over, and here they are. I'm going to unpack these and test them in my Grossman SG ISOCAB back here, which is a very mysterious and powerful device, and its mystery is only exceeded by its power. If you haven't seen my videos, you're probably wondering what the hell I'm on about at this point. Let me try to give you a quick recap. I tested out over 50 different Vintage 30s earlier this year in an attempt to investigate some of the myths around this speaker. One of these myths concerned the new 2022 Vintage 30 as made popular by Glenn Fricker. And I did 2 follow-up videos on this, and there does seem to be some merit to this myth. From roughly the middle of 2021 to again roughly the middle of 2022, the speakers I tested generated less 5 to 6 kHz content, making them sound very similar to the speakers I tested from around 2000 to 2004. The results also indicate that this tonal period might already be over though too. Furthermore, it seems that it's not the transparent dust caps that affect the tone in this way, but the batch from which the cones in the speaker came from. It seems that cones from batches that start with 2 numbers and end with the letter Z, as well as later batches that start with the letter A and end with 2 numbers, are of the smoother variety. Even later cones that have batches that start with the letter B don't seem to have this character. But what about the earlier ones? When did this start? Well, let's find out. Supposedly these boxes contain Celestion Vintage 30s that were made in early 2021. Might also be severed heads, I don't know, I haven't opened the boxes yet. Either way, it's going to mean some work for me. I'm not going to unbox these on camera because I don't understand unboxing videos. I can barely stand watching myself opening boxes, so enlighten me in the comments please if you can. Why do people watch unboxing videos? So I'm going to unbox these, and then I'm going to inspect them, and then I'm going to stick them in the ISOCAB, and then I'm going to run room EQ wizard sweeps to make frequency response graphs. And then I'm going to reamp some tracks to them. And then we're going to try to evaluate together if these sound like the smoother 2022 Vintage 30s or not. I'm also going to run a Vintage 30 from 2019, as well as the 2022 Smooth V30, as well as a 2020 Mesa Boogie Spec V30 as references. Let's see how many more Dude Where's My Car references I can stick in one video. Anyway, please stand by while I carefully open these boxes with my Continuum Transfunctioner. Shit, there's red stains here. Look at that. That almost looks like blood stains. Maybe there are severed heads in here. No severed heads, just speakers. And let's see. No coil rub, that's nice. We have slightly clear dust caps. And these aren't actually 2021 speakers. These were made in December 2020. Take a look at the date code. And they have batch codes that start with a Y. Y41 on this one, and Y40 on this one. Also, no coil rub. Seems like these speakers made it here intact. Okay. I'm going to stick them in the ISOCAB, run the tests, and then I'll meet you back at my desk. Alright, let's take a look at the graphs. So, what I've got here is both 2020 speakers loaded up here. One is orange and one is purple. The purple one is the one with cone Y41, and the orange one is the one with cone Y40. And at first glance, everything looks pretty standard like all the other Vintage 30s we've had. There's something going on here in the mids that I haven't seen before. I don't know what that is, if the power amp had a hiccup or if that's some kind of distortion, I don't know. Anyway, apart from that, everything looks pretty normal. What I want to do next is add in the references. The 2019 reference in red, Uh-oh. And the 2022 reference in bright green. And we can see here both of them are louder than these 2020 speakers. That could be because the cones were different. Could be because these two 2020 speakers were treated the same way. I don't know their history. I don't know what happened to them. But they're a bit more quiet. But let's look at the crucial 5 to 6 kilohertz area here. If I could click the right button here. And we can see here that between 5 and 6 kilohertz, the two 2020 speakers with the Y cones are right up there with the 2019 reference, and the 2022 speaker is much smoother down here. So yeah, it looks like these late Y batch code cone speakers are pretty much like the cones were from 2008 till 2020. Let's add in the Mesa Boogie reference for good measure, and we can see there that behaves pretty much the same here, furthermore indicating that there's nothing remarkable about the Mesa OEM speakers tonally anyway. Big shocker, I know. This video isn't my most spectacular. I know that there's nothing earth-shattering in here, but I still wanted to do this video for two reasons. Firstly, I wanted to acknowledge the awesome gesture of a complete stranger sending me his two V30 speakers for me to test. Thank you, Zoltan. I really appreciate that. I've got your speakers well packed on the way back to you. And by the time this is out, they will be in your possession again with a bit of luck. And the second reason why I wanted to do this video is I wanted a little dry run for my break-in test setup. If you've looked at my community posts, you will know that I ran into some technical difficulties regarding that. I was going to use my Orange Micro Terror to break in the speakers, but that is kaput. It has an issue. It's stone dead. It's not giving out any sound, and that might be coincidence, or I might have fucked it, because before starting the test I wanted to measure approximately how much power it was putting out for science. So I hooked it up to this load resistor here and wanted to measure the output with my scope here, but nothing came out. Either way, I had to come up with a plan B, so I decided to use my Dietzel VH4 preamp pedal together with the Seymour Duncan Power Stage 170 that I'm currently using to make the frequency response graphs. And yeah, so far that setup works quite well, but I found the limits of the Scarlett 2i2 audio interface that I was using for that a little annoying, because I couldn't really dial the pedal properly while reamping, because I kept hearing the DI. I couldn't get that out of the monitor mix without actually killing the output to the preamp pedal. I'm not a DAW whiz. I probably missed a very simple setting. Either way, it annoyed me a lot, so I got an Audient ID 14 Mark II to take its place, and that has a secondary set of outputs that I can use for reamping and scoping. So yeah, I'm going to use that instead, and the break-in test is finally, after many delays, about to start. I'll play you the sound samples now. I'll start with the 2019 reference, then one of the 2020 speakers, then the 2022 reference, then the other 2020 speaker. That should really highlight the differences in tone there. And then I'll finish it off with the 2020 Mesa Boogie Spec V30 for good measure. If you enjoyed this video nonetheless, please consider watching the year 2000 comedy classic Dude, Where's My Car? I've got a cool new to me speaker comparison video coming up very shortly after this. Most of it is filmed and recorded, and I'm very excited about that, so I'd be delighted if you stuck around. Now, I've yapped enough. Here are the sound samples. Bye.